Welcome back to another video from NN Automotive. Today's video we're going to be completing a full detail and summer protection package on this Melbourne Red BMW 218D. So we're going to run you through the process that we follow. Hope you enjoy the video. First stage is just to power wash the car down to remove any large chunks of muck or grime that might be on the car, followed by the alloy wheel cleaner. Now we spray this first, leave it to dwell for 2 to 3 minutes while we move on to preparing our snow lance. We're using Easy Car Care Arctic Meltdown snow foam, and we picked this up for around £20 for 5 litres off of Amazon, so crazy value from Easy Car Care as always. Moving on to the foam itself, we always start top to bottom just so it drips down for better coverage, and we quickly apply this to our alloy wheels just to get a coating and protection on top of that alloy wheel cleaner. Now, as always, the optimum weather for this is in the shade. We had a great day's weather here, perfect for car cleaning, so we didn't have to worry about the sun working products into the paintwork too much. And just a top tip with snow foam, it's not always the thicker foam that's going to actually give you better cleaning properties on a car. So just check the product label and make sure that you're not being ripped off. A lot of these companies are just getting, a really foamy product out there, but actually the cleaning properties aren't that great at all. So we leave this to dwell for 2 to 3 minutes just to start working on that grime and to start pulling that dirt down off of the paintwork. You want it to pull it loosely off, just really minimise the amount of handwork that you're going to be putting onto the paint itself. And just with applying the snow foam, you want to rinse from top to bottom again, just so we can wash that product down the vehicle and pick up any loose contaminants that may be on there. Now, after washing off the product completely with a power washer, we're going to go on to the alloy wheels. Just make sure we give the fender wells a good rinse whilst we're there and work all of this product and foam out of the alloys. At this point, I would do a dedicated alloy wheel clean with brushes if needed. However, we've just done one on this vehicle a couple of days prior. Now it's time to move on to the hand washing stage. The vast majority of dirt will be off of the vehicle from the snow foam, so it's time just to give some special attention to that paint. We're doing the 2 bucket method with grit guards, one fill completely with clean water, the second 3/4 of the way up with warm water, and we're going to add 3 caps of our favourite shampoo, agitate with the power washer just to bring that product to life, and we're ready to go. We're using Bear Care Immaculate, which is a pH neutral shampoo, just because we have got a little bit of protection on the car already that we want to look after. Now, if you want to strip back your waxes and you want to start from a clean slate, then we actually recommend Clean Slate, which is from Chemical Guys, which again is another great product. Again, Bear Care Immaculate we got on fantastically with, and we've reviewed on our Instagram page. So using a dedicated mitt, you want to work the shampoo from top to bottom. As always, we work top to bottom just so that product drips down the car. And you'll notice here we're working in circular motions and a crosshatch method. So the key with the grit guards is once your wash mitt has run out of product and you're ready to reapply, you want to put it into the clean water, clean it on the grit guard at the bottom of the bucket before going back into your wash bucket. This is really key here, guys, because any grit or any contaminants left on that, you're just going to be putting all over your paintwork. So it's very key that you keep that mitt nice and clean. You will notice that we have a second dedicated wash mitt for the lower levels. So we use the second one for the skirts, the rear diffuser, around the exhaust and the front bumper. We do this just because we find that's where the heavy dirt is, normally where the road film and the grime will sit. So it's really optimal just to use a second dedicated mitt for that, so we're not actually scratching that all over our doors in case any of that gets left in our mitt. As discussed, we just use a dedicated second mitt for the lower levels, so we're going to go ahead with exactly the same process after we've completely washed the car, and we're going to work just in them skirts. You'll see this is where all the tar, all the iron deposits and all of the road grime will sit mostly. Now the car's been snow foamed, it's been cleaned by hand, it's ready for a final rinse down. So you want to make sure that all the product that you've just worked into that car is completely rinsed off the car. Again, just power washing top to bottom, working it vigorously, making sure all shampoo is worked out. Car's now clean, it's now rinsed. We're going to leave it wet and we're going to apply our iron remover. So iron fallout remover, essentially you spray onto the car whilst it's either wet or it's dry. We just don't think there's any point in drying the car to do it, so we apply it whilst it's still wet. You want to cover the entire car. This is paintwork, alloy wheels, brake calipers, brake discs, you name it, exhaust. Iron remover does what it says on the tin, so you'll see that it sprays on clear and it starts to react with iron deposits that are left on the paintwork and any contaminants that there may be, and it should turn a purple colour. With all iron removers, this absolutely stinks and it's not pleasant to work with, but it's an absolutely essential key when applying protection to your car. You need to have an absolute clean surface. So as you can see, the purple on the brake discs here, while the product is reacting with the iron that's come from the brake discs. And you only want to leave this stuff on your paintwork for 1 to 2 minutes before vigorously power washing off. Now, because it sprays on clear, it can be quite easy to miss, so you want to make sure that you're not missing any part of your car when rinsing this off. You can see here as we're working on the passenger door that it looks like almost no product's on, but when you start really power washing that panel, you can see it reacting and you can see the product coming clear. So make sure you take your time at this stage just to make sure all of that remover has been removed completely from your paintwork. Once completely rinsed, we move on to drying the car with a towel. We've already dried our car at this point in the video using a twisted loop towel. We are just going around the lower levels with a dedicated drying towel. So as with the washing stage, we use a second towel just for the skirts, the fender wells, the front bumper. Again, just in case any deposits or any grime is left, we just find it better to use a second towel at this stage just to prevent anything disastrous happening. We're also going to go ahead and dry our door seals and door cards at the same time. Now the final stage in the drying process is using an air dryer. We're actually using an industrial leaf blower here, but there are some great air dryers out there. They can just be a little on the pricey side, so I definitely recommend looking at powerful leaf blowers because they do exactly the same job. Now we use this just to work in behind number plates, around badges, around your wheels, around your brakes, and more importantly probably in and around wing mirrors and anywhere where water kind of hides behind. You'll notice if you've ever gone through, God forbid, a hand car wash before, car looks nice and clean, you drive down the road and by the time you get out you have water all down the side of your car where it's come from your wing mirror and now dried on in the sun. So that is because they're not drying in a place where water hides. So you want to use a blower, just go over the entire car just to push out. As you can see, there's a lot of excess water here that wasn't picked up from hand drying before. So it's definitely an essential part before we add our application of wax at a later stage, just to make sure that we've got a complete dry surface. Followed up just with a twisted loop towel just to wipe down the excess. Moving on to the final stage of decontamination, which is clay barring. Strong clay lube is essential here. We actually picked up a top tip from Pan the Organizer from YouTube of shampoo and water as a quick homemade clay lube if you were to run out. So running across the paintwork, it's actually a slight abrasive in itself, a clay bar, so you want to make sure that you use plenty of lube and you're not pulling that across your body of your paint dry. You'll see here in a minute when I show the clay bar to the camera, the amount of contaminants left on what appears to be a clean layer of clear coat is quite astonishing. So it's really good to clay bar your car before you go ahead and polish and wax, and that's just going to help us create a strong bond between our clear coat and the wax that we'll be applying. So as you can see there, many contaminants were picked up just off of that one panel alone. We're now going to address any light scratches that we may have on the paintwork. For this, we're going to use super resin polish from Auto Glim. There are some abrasives in this as kind of a filler, which will help just pick up any of those light scratches that are on the surface. Now, this car is only 6 to 12 months old, and it has been pretty well maintained by ourselves, so we don't need to use a machine polisher here. But if you had anything deeper, you want to attend to that with a machine polish, obviously where possible. So on the application of the polish, we're using just a new microfiber, and we're going to apply it in circular motions. Now we try to use a cross-hatch method where we can, just making sure, sort of going left to right, up to down on one panel at a time, just to make sure that we're not missing anywhere on there. So we're going to finish off in straight lines just to ensure an even coverage of polish, and then we're going to allow it to haze for around 5 to 10 minutes. You'll see that after time the polish sort of tends to haze and therefore indicates that it's ready to come off. So moving on, we pick up a brand new clean buffing microfiber, and we're going to buff off that polish. As you can see, it's starting already to be nice and glossy underneath. So any of the defects or light scratches which should now have come out from the polishing stage, and you're just going to wipe away that excess polish dust. We're using the panel wipes from Carbon Collective. It's sort of our go-to buffing cloth, or when we're working polishing, we just find them really good value for money. Finally, the final stage, just before we get to the long-awaited wax application, is to prepare our surface in the form of using an IPA or an isopropyl alcohol cleaner. We're using Surface Prep from Autobead. Just a couple of sprays either onto the paintwork or onto the microfiber, and we're going to cover the entire car. And the purpose of this stage is just to remove any of the chemicals left behind from the previous stages of readying the car for wax. So that might be polish, that might be any iron fallout, any shampoo. We want the absolute cleanest contact between our wax and our layer of clear coat on the vehicle, and IPA will certainly help from a chemical point of view to achieve that result. As I said, this is a really quick, easy step, but not one to be missed. 1 to 2 sprays per panel is normally enough. Just a couple of shots of the car's condition now before the wax is applied. As you can see, all our hard work is starting to pay off. So that nice, deep, glossy look is achieved from preparing the car, fully decontaminating and polishing out any light scratches. We've got a super smooth, glossy panel now, which we really want to protect. So we're going to move on to the wax stage to get some nice long-lasting protection and hopefully some hydrophobic effects. So the wax itself, we've gone for Autobead ceramic wax from their Silex series, which is a new product to their lineup. We've previously used this twice, most recently on a BMW 1 Series in white, which we do have a full YouTube video showing that process. And we're really impressed with the results. So we've picked that up again today just for our summer prep. We're using a clean microfiber towel for application, but again, you can use a wax applicator if you prefer. I just prefer working with cloths. I find it easier. And this does apply really well on a dry cloth. So some you may need a wet applicator, but with this particular wax, it applies really nicely just with a dry cloth. So starting in light circular motions and then following up in straight lines in a crosshatch method. You just want a really nice thin layer. You don't want to go too heavy with any wax, particularly with a wax with ceramic properties. Almost less is more, and you can always go back for a second application. Working on one panel at a time, ideally in shade or in optimal weather conditions as we had today, is really important because we don't want this wax to harden in the sun. If you can do it in a controlled environment, then great. But for most of you guys out there who are enthusiasts or, just detailing at home, just make sure you're not putting this on sort of in the extreme heat, and try and work one panel at a time to make sure that no product is sitting for any long amount of time on your paintwork without being attended to. So finishing off here, just in straight lines, making sure we've got coverage on the entire panel. And we're going to go ahead and leave this to cure on our paintwork for 2 to 3 minutes. Each wax will vary, so please just check with your manufacturer the wax that you've opted to use, just to make sure that the curing time is roughly the same. So picking up a second clean microfiber, this is purely just for buffing. We're going to buff that product off. Any method really works here, but again, we go for the up and down, left to right, just to make sure that we're not missing any off. Already you can start to see that thin layer of wax that we had on there is coming off nicely, buffing off any excess, and we go back to our glossy, shiny panel that we got from all that polishing. Now, with this particular wax, Auto Bead claiming 8 months protection. We haven't tested the longevity of it yet because it's not been around for 8 months. However, I've had a couple of maintenance washes on the white BMW, which has had it on for about a month now, and I've been really impressed. The wax has held up really nicely, and the car's still repelling dirt really, really well. So we're going to continue with this process around the entire car, one panel at a time, and we're actually going to opt for 2 layers of the wax today, followed by 1 layer of spray sealant, just as an additional layer on top of that hard wax that needs to be broken down before it starts to attack that wax. And we're hoping all in this should give us a good, easy 8 to 10 months protection. So after the wax has been applied, we're going to finish off detailing the car. Final couple of stages, we're going to address the tyres with a tyre dressing. We've opted for Auto Bright's tyre gel, just applied with a tyre dressing applicator here. Now you can buff off nice and quickly for a matte finish, or you can leave on and to work into the tyre for the OEM sort of new tyre glossy look, which is what we've opted for here. Now I do always recommend a tyre dressing applicator. You can pick them up for £1 or £2, and they're worth their weight in gold because it saves you washing your hands 20 times. Now these wheels are already ceramic coated, so we're going to just keep on top of that protection by adding some wheel armour from Easy Car Care. Now this is just another type of alloy wheel specific spray sealant, but other spray sealants or ceramic sealants will work. Just make sure that they're safe on all painted alloys. This works really well. Just spray on, work into the alloy, as you can see here, on the face of the alloys and around the back of the spokes, and then buff off with a microfiber. Again, this product was around £15 from Easy Car Care's website, and I've done maybe 8 or 9 cars now, and I've got about half a bottle left, so getting on really well with this so far. Moving on to the final stage of cleaning, we're going to tend to the glass. Now we're using invisible glass from Stoners, and I'm sure if you're watching this video at this point, 19 minutes in, that you are an enthusiast or a detailer yourself, so you should know all about this. We absolutely love this product. It's been one of our go-to glass cleaners for a good few years now. Safe on tints, and we always just recommend using a glass weave cloth or a waffle microfiber just to make your life a little easier. So a couple of sprays, and you can sort of, if it's really heavily soiled, work from the outside of the windows in, but again, the car's pretty clean, so no specific method needed here. So just showing you the results now, a walk around of the car. We are really impressed with how this Melbourne Red from BMW likes to pop when it's properly polished and well maintained. Get some crazy reflections and a really nice deep colour shine. I think it works really well with the ABS black plastic that's been added to the car. Nice and protected with 2 full coats of ceramic wax, so we are more than ready for the summer ahead. Finally, what everyone really loves to see is how well this beads water, so the hydrophobic effects of the wax. So we'll run a little bit of clean, fresh water out the hose here. You can see it loves to run off nice and quickly. And then we've got some really nice small tight beads there as well. So that's the end of the video. That's our longest video to date, which is a full detail of the car, and we'll leave you to enjoy a few of these stills that we took shortly after. Please subscribe, hit like, and leave any comments on any products you want to see us using or any tips that you had after watching that video, and we'd love to hear from you.